Everyone. So today in this session I'll be covering what is the format of an audit report. So in the previous session we covered what is an audit report, what are the different types of opinion. So we were dealing with SA 700, forming an opinion and reporting on financial statements. So in that we were dealing with unmodified opinion. So we'll see what is the format of an audit report, what are the contents of an audit report. Now basically the first thing is the title. Then we have the addressee, subtitle, opinion, basis for opinion. Then what is the type of opinion? If it is a qualified opinion, adverse or disclaimer of opinion, then basis for that modified opinion, then going concern. And we have your emphasis of matter and other matter paragraphs, then management responsibility, then the auditor's responsibility, then what are the key audit matters, and we also have other regulatory requirements, the report on the other regulatory requirements, and finally your name and the signature. You are including your membership number, firm registration number, and date and place. So now we'll go to each and every topic in detail. In detail means what it should include, so that to get a better understanding. Now, first is your title. As I told you, the first thing in the particular audit report will be your title. So what is the title? How it should be addressed? Okay. So I already told you in the starting of the audit class, we have discussed what is the importance of independent audit. So I told you whenever you are using or defining audit, it is an independent examination. So in the title, it should be very clearly indicated that it is an independent auditor's report. So title is not just an audit report, it is an independent auditor's report. So I told you the auditor should be free of any bias or any kind of prejudice. He should be objective, and also whatever work audit procedures he is applying, he should apply in such a way that he is, as an independent person, he should work on the audit. He should not be subjected to any kind of influence. So your title should clearly indicate that the audit report is an independent auditor's report. So this is the first thing that you have to take care while writing the title, independent auditor's report. Now addressee. Addressee means what? To whom and all this particular audit report is addressed. Who are using the audit report? So say for example, if as per the laws or regulation or as per the regulatory requirement, the auditor is performing an audit, then there will be certain specific addressees. Now normally addressee means to whom and all as per the terms of engagement. We already saw what is audit engagement. So as per the terms of the audit engagement, who is viewing the auditor's report? Who are the persons who are utilizing the auditor's report? Now, normally who will be using the auditor's report or who will be viewing the auditor's report? So it will be either the management, it can be the management, or it could be the shareholder. So if the management is auditor is being appointed by the management, it will be addressed to the management. If it is by the shareholders, it will be addressed to the shareholders. So we have seen, like, when auditor will be appointed, first auditor will be appointed by whom, subsequent auditor will be appointed by whom. In case of a government company, who will appoint the auditor, C&AG. So depending on who is appointing the auditor, to whom the audit report will be given, it varies. So normally it is the shareholders or to those charged with governance. So as in specific circumstances, if it is required by some kind of a regulatory compliance or by law, then it will vary. So normally it will be addressed based on the circumstances of the engagement. So either to the shareholders or the management. Now third is what? After title and address, it will be the opinion of the auditor. So before going to the opinion, so first thing is it will be having a heading called as opinion. So auditor's opinion, one heading will be there. Now before actually giving the opinion, there are few things which has to be clearly stated. What are those things which has to be clearly stated? One is, first thing is the financial statements are audited. So that is the first thing. So I am giving an opinion based on the audit. So first thing is the financial statements are audited. Whose financial statements the auditor is auditing? name of the entity for whom the financial statements are audited. Secondly, what is the period covered by the audit? Very, very important message, a very, very important part of the opinion. Say, without mentioning the period, that particular audit report, I would say it is worthless, because we don't know which period this audit report is given, right? So, our name of the entity, then period for which the particular audit is being conducted. Then again, what are the financial statements, what are the components that is contained in the financial statement. Say for example, the audit is being conducted with respect to balance sheet, P&L, your cash flow. So title of each statement comprising the financial statement. Okay, your financial statements are comprised of your balance sheet, P&L, notes to account. So all the three will also be included. Now, the next is notes to account. So it is not only your P&L, balance sheet and cash flow, it also should include your notes to account and the accounting policies, significant accounting policies. Summary of that significant accounting policies. And finally, you will give the opinion. So before directly going and giving the opinion, okay, I hereby, okay, as per our audit, these are the, before going to give the opinion, you have to make sure that these particular what would I say? These particular elements are included. So what are the elements? First is the audit has been conducted, name of the entity for which the audit is conducted, the period that is covered by the audit, your financial statements is comprised of what? It is comprised title of each statement that is coming part of your financial statement, and then the notes to accounts and also your summary of the accounting policy, significant accounting policy. So all these cover, only after all these you go to the opinion part. Now in the opinion part, you know, unmodified, modified, it could be anything. Now followed by the opinion part, there will be also one part called as basis for the opinion. How the auditor has arrived at that particular opinion. So that is the next paragraph after your opinion paragraph. So in the opinion paragraph, we will see more minute details of how it should be written. So before going to the opinion, within the opinion paragraph itself, firstly it should be the name of the entity, period covered by the auditor, the fact that the statements are audited, now the significant accounting policies and the notes to account, the elements or title of each and every financial statement, and then we come to the opinion. Now, when you are giving an unmodified opinion, I told you unmodified opinion means the statements are representing a true and fair view of the entity. So everything is correct. It's a clean report. There is no material misstatements, and the auditor has also obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So audit evidence is obtained. At the same time, the audit evidence on going through the audit evidence or on examination of the audit evidence, it is found that the financial statements are representing a true and fair view. Now, whenever the auditor is giving an unmodified report, that is a clean report without any qualifications, normally I can use any one of the following phrases. Okay, so how the report will be or how the opinion paragraph will be, like in our opinion, you are accompanying financial statements or the financial statements whatever is being audited present fairly in all material respect. That means what? Or in materiality or in the material significantly, it is representing a fair view, present fairly in all material respects. Or equivalent to that, you can also show as gives a true and fair view of the affairs of the entity. So whenever I am giving an unmodified report, I can use the following phrases. So whenever in our opinion, you are accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects, or give a true and fair view of the affairs of the entity. So whenever you see these, whenever you come across these two words or these two phrases, that means you can be sure that it is an unmodified report. Now, in a modified report, on the other hand, I can tell, gives a true and fair view of the company subject to, there will be a qualification. So here there is no qualification. This gives the financial statements, accompanying financial statements gives a true and fair view of the company. That's all. Whereas it is in a modified report, it will be subject to so and so criteria, or it will be except for these things. Okay, except for these, it is giving a true and fair view, or it is presenting fairly. So that exceptions we are giving, that qualifications, then it becomes a modified report. So because there are few misstatements and other than that it is doing fine or it is giving a fairly representing. So this is a difference now here. Unmodified report, just understand the two phrases which can come in an unmodified opinion paragraph. Now next one is, I told you after the opinion there will be one paragraph called as basis for the opinion. What is the basis for the opinion? Now this is directly following your opinion paragraph. Just after your opinion paragraph you have something called as basis for opinion. That means what? On what basis or on what reasons the particular auditor has come to this particular opinion and has given the audit report. Now what it should include? What should your basis of opinion include? So firstly, it should state that the particular audit, whichever audit, the books of accounts of whichever entity the particular auditor is auditing, it should be prepared in accordance with the applicable financial, it should be actually the audit is conducted as per your standards on auditing. So book should be prepared, it should be complying with the applicable financial reporting framework, all the accounting policies are included and it is applied consistently. And again, audit, I am conducting the audit based on the standards on auditing. Most important thing, independent audit. It also should include a statement, it is an independent audit, it is independent of the entity. And again, what are the works that is carried out by the auditor to arrive at that particular conclusion. So first I'll state, okay, the audit is conducted as per the SAs. Second, it is an independent audit. Third, what are the responsibilities? What are the job I have done? What are the job that is done by the engagement partner in order to obtain the evidence which actually substantiate the report, that is, or the opinion that has been arrived at. Now, whether the auditor has fulfilled his ethical responsibilities in accordance with the requirements. I told you integrity, confidentiality and your independence. All there are n number of ethical requirements which has to be fulfilled. Whether he has fulfilled objectivity, integrity, confidentiality, independence, professionalism, whether the auditor has complied with the ethical responsibilities. Another statement will be there. And lastly, whether the audit evidence obtained will be sufficient and appropriate. So whenever an opinion is given, the auditor should state on what basis the opinion is given. So what basis means on what are the reasons or what are the ground reasons on which the audit opinion is based. So since I am giving this opinion, it is because of these reasons. What are the reasons? One, I have conducted the audit as per the SA. It is an independent audit. Then I have done so and so things, the responsibilities of the auditor, and I have also not only just the responsibility with respect to the audit, I have also fulfilled the ethical responsibilities. Integrity, maintaining integrity, unmodification of the unauthorized unmodification. Then your confidentiality, unwanted disclosure is not there. Then professionalism and due care, applying the skill set, the technical competence and experience from the prior audit. Independence, not influenced by the management, and objectivity, not subjected to bias. So all these ethical responsibilities are also complied with while I am delivering this particular opinion. So again, lastly, the opinion is based on what? Evidence. So every opinion should be based on evidence. If there is no evidence, I cannot say it is a clean report. Only based on the opinion I am giving the report, right? So last one is basis of the opinion. What is the evidence obtained, whether it is sufficient and appropriate. So basis of opinion will cover all the 5 things. So we saw what is an opinion, what the opinion paragraph will contain. So opinion paragraph, the name of the entity, period covered by the entity, fact that the financials are audited, what are the different title of the financial statements that is present, that is your P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, etc. Notes to account, and also the summary of your significant accounting policies, and finally we give the opinion. So opinion, I told you, in an unmodified or clean report I'll be using any of the one phrases. Both are equivalent. So either giving a true and fair view or maybe present fairly in all material aspects. Now basis, I told you, every opinion paragraph will be followed by the basis for opinion. On what basis, what ground I have come to that particular opinion, or my report is based on that particular opinion. What substantiates my report. Now basis for opinion, you will include what? you will include that the audit is conducted as per your essays. Now, auditor's responsibility, before audit is conducted as per your essays, now it is an independent audit, auditor's responsibilities, ethical responsibilities, and finally what are the audit evidence that is obtained. Clear? Now, coming to the next part. So, next part is there is another topic or another another one small heading called as going concern. So in the report, the next thing will be about going concern. So I already told you when I was taking the session on essay 570, going concern, it is a management responsibility to make it is a management responsibility to come up with the going concern assumption. So I told you, depending on various factors, depending on their operational indicators, financial indicators, which show the going concern assumption is appropriate or not. So depending on that, the management will come to some kind of a conclusion with regard to its going concern assumption. Now, as an auditor, whenever the auditor is giving a report, auditor has to mention whether the assumption about the going concern that is whatever is the assumption that about the going concern assumption that the management has included, it is appropriate. So the next one is appropriateness of the going concern assumption made by the management. So if the management is making some kind of an assumption basing on the with respect to the going concern, they have to make sure it is appropriate. So appropriateness of the going concern assumption is the next one. Now, so for this, giving a report on this, here only your financial indicators, operational indicators, your total legal charges, everything will be taken into account by the auditor. He will compare whether whatever indicators finally tally with whatever assumption that the management has made. Sometimes as per the auditor or auditor's judgment, things might not be correct. The going concern assumption is not appropriate. So that he can actually mention here. So there is a separate element in the audit report called as going concern, whether the auditor will be commenting on the appropriateness of the management's going concern assumption. Next is called as a key audit matters. What are key audit matters? Say during the conduct of the audit, auditor might have experience in conducting lots of audit. So in his professional judgment during the conduct of the audit, he will feel certain matters are significant. Certain matters are significant during the audit. So those matters he will be communicating. So what matters will be significant? So normally what are the matters that is included in this key audit matters are normally during the process of audit or during the application of your audit procedures, there will be various instances where the auditor is communicating to the management or those charged with governance. There will be discussions going on relating to some kind of process that is not clear or not properly captured in the financials. So such kind of communication with those charged with governance, which requires some attention or which is significant during the audit, which was significant during the audit, such kind of matters I can include it as a part of my key audit matters. Say for example, what example can I give you? Accounting estimates. So some accounting estimation has been made by the particular management, which is not appropriate, and there was a lot of discussion involved on how they have reached at this particular percentage or this percentage value. So these kind of matters which is significant, which have to be included or which has to be included in the particular audit report. But what happens is for these particular matters, there is no separate audit opinion given. So all these matters have come up or popped up during the course of the audit, during the process of audit, based on which the audit opinion will be given. Now, but for these specific matters, there will not be any specific audit opinion given. So those matters which are significant during the audit, which requires attention, that I'll put under key audit matters. So those are matters which in the professional judgment of the auditor are most significant during the audit. Say for example, your carrying value, calculation of the carrying value of investments. So these, whichever things which the auditor feels is significant, it needs to be given extra weightage. So that I will be including in your key audit matters. Say there are receivables, say there are lots of receivables, how the receivable, there are certain receivables under negotiation. So what is the status of that? So how they have accounted for the receivables. So these kind of discussions whichever they have with those charged with governance during the process or during the course of audit, I can include it as a part of my key audit matters. Now, emphasis of matter paragraph. Now, this might look similar. So, the next heading is emphasis of matter paragraph. This is the next element in your audit report. So, now you might feel like, okay, what is the difference between the two? Now, I told you in key audit matters, any kind of communication that happens with those charged with governance, process related events which have an effect on the financial statements will be captured. In emphasis of matter paragraph, as per the judgment of the auditor, few things are included for enhancing the understanding. It is not very significant, but it should be included for a better understanding of the financials. So such kind of elements come in your emphasis of matter paragraph. Say for example, the particular company is having subsidiaries and it has made some investments, non-current investments there. Some non-current investments are made in the subsidiaries like fixed assets or maybe you could building. So such kind of information in my consolidated financials, it will be only given as your investments or non-current assets. Now this will enhance the understandability of the financials. So now a person reading your financials can find, okay, this is because, okay, this much investment has been made in a subsidiary because of which their investments have increased. So it is mainly to enhance the understanding of the financials. Or maybe say for example, the company is under a particular litigation or it is under a particular lawsuit. Now they have a contingent liability which they have disclosed, but the particular auditor wants to make sure that the users understand like what is the outcome, what could be the outcome of the litigation, what could be the outcome of the litigation, and whether the amount that is disclosed in the financial statements is appropriate. So these kind of what to say, disclosures or these kind of matters which require which will enhance the understandability of the financials, I can put it in my emphasis of matter paragraph. Say for example, there are negotiations, there is lot of receivables to be collected again, or there is a law, as I told you, some kind of a negotiation. Now what is the status of the negotiation? What are the processes that is carried out by the management? How the management has come to the conclusion, or whether they will win the lawsuit, or whether what will be the outcome of negotiation. So these kind of extra information which is required for enhancing the understandability and can include it in emphasis of matter paragraph. Whereas in your key matter paragraph, it is those communications with the management, those charged with governance, and these are very significant matters that has to be there. Because I'm not giving an opinion for each and every significant matter, but I have considered the collective effort of all these small matters while giving the opinion. So those matters I am drawing or putting it in my key audit matters. These are in order to enhance the understandability. It is not, I'm not telling it's a significant matter, but it will be good if I am including that in my emphasis of matter paragraph. It requires some emphasis, it is required for the understandability. Now the next, so we saw, what are the things we saw? We saw title, we saw addressee, then we saw opinion. Underneath the opinion we have your basis of opinion, then we have going concern, then we have key audit matters and emphasis of matter paragraph. Now next one is other matter paragraph. What is other matter paragraph? Other matter paragraph means sometimes in the judgment of the auditor he might feel that certain elements need to be reported or need to be disclosed in the audit report, which specifies or which indicates the audit responsibilities or about the audit report itself. Say for example, the auditor has conducted, say he is auditing the head office of a particular entity. Now he can actually view the audit report of the branches and then come to, if the branches are audited, now he can collect the report of the branch or respective branch auditors and then he can actually use it when conducting the audit of the head office. Now, the auditor has individually gone and then done an audit of each of the branches. In addition to that, or he has verified certain or other documents in addition to the work he is doing in head office. Additional responsibilities, those I can include in my other matter paragraph. So though I am doing the audit of the head office, these extra things have been done by me. Or say for example, the auditor is not able to resign. Say the auditor wants to resign from the engagement because he is not able to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. But because of the limitation of the scope of the particular engagement, he is not able to resign. So such kind of matters which he wants to communicate, he can include in the other matter paragraph. So we saw what is key matter, what are key matters, what are key audit matters, emphasis of matter paragraph and other matter paragraph. So this is basically other matter paragraph with respect to the auditor's responsibility or the auditor's report. Emphasis of matter paragraph, it is mostly for the enhancing the understandability of the financial statements. Key audit matters means it is a significant matters, especially communications with those charged with governance, which is required to be included in the audit report. Now, next element will be your management responsibility followed by the auditor's responsibility. So, management responsibility we have covered in many places. What is the responsibility of the management? So, first and foremost responsibility is what? Preparation of financials. So, preparation of financials, who prepares the financials? So, it is the management who prepares the financials. That is the foremost responsibility. Second one is what? Internal control. I told you very important point. Internal control. Design, implementation and maintenance of the internal control. So, that is the second one. Design, implementation and maintenance of internal control. Third is what? Safeguarding the assets. Asset safeguarding. I told you who is responsible for the asset safeguarding of the assets. Physical custody of the assets is with the management, with the company, with the entity. So the next responsibility would be safeguarding the assets. So I told you in design and implementation and maintenance of internal control, I told you one point. And the internal control should be designed properly. It should be designed properly, and not only just designed, it should be implemented, and also proper monitoring and review and maintenance should also be there. It is not enough that I just design and implement it and then after that I am not even concerned about that control. I should be making it, proper review should be there, proper monitoring and observation should also be there. And then compliance with the laws and regulations. What is the compliance with the laws? And all the regulatory and legal compliance procedures are being complied with. So again, that is also a responsibility of the management. Then going concern. I told you in the audit report, the auditor is giving a whether the audit assumption by the management is appropriate. So whose job is it to come up with the assumption? It is the job of the management. So management duty to assess the going concern. So whether the going concern is assumption, whether the going concern is appropriate or not, that the auditor has to decide. But the management has to make the going concern assumption. Now, management representations. Again, what? Depending on the inquiry by the auditor, depending on the queries raised by the auditor, sometimes the auditor feels that he needs to get a representation from the management. He needs to get a representation written from the management that they have undertaken to do all these things. They have prepared the financials. Financials are prepared as per the applicable financial reporting framework. Financials in accounting policies are applied consistently. All these kind of representations they need to give. So this is again another responsibility of the management. It is not just once the auditor is coming and they are not cooperating with the audit. So they have to cooperate with the auditor. They have to give him all the necessary documents, records, books of accounts as requested by the auditor. Give him management representation. So whichever is required for going ahead with the audit to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Now management responsibility, basically 4 to 5 responsibilities. 1. Preparing the financials. So foremost responsibility. Design, implementation and maintenance of internal control. Asset safeguarding. Compliance with the laws and regulatory procedures. Now assumptions with respect to going concern assumption, and lastly the management representation. Next is auditor. So having said about the management responsibility, next is with respect to auditor. What is the responsibility of the auditor? Now, auditor, the main responsibility is to obtain reasonable assurance. So this I have been telling from the first session. What is reasonable assurance? Reasonable assurance means what? Highest level of assurance. Highest level of assurance. Highest level of assurance, and this highest level of assurance means what? This assurance, the auditor cannot be sure that there are no misstatements, but sorry. Reasonable assurance means the particular highest level of assurance that can be given by the auditor. So when this assurance is given, the auditor cannot completely say there are no misstatements. There could be, because there is always an inherent risk, but that is the highest level of assurance that the auditor can give, having applied all the necessary audit procedures to verify. That is the first responsibility. And the last responsibility would be what? To give the particular opinion through an audit report. That also we know. Now, how he gives an assurance? How he gives a reasonable assurance? So first means he has to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement. So any kind of misstatements are there, identify that, assess significance, weightage of that particular material misstatement. Now, for that, how he understands that it is a misstatement? By the audit evidence obtained. So second is obtaining the audit evidence, sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. How he is obtaining the audit evidence? Based on the audit procedure. So again, designing and performing the audit procedures. Now, understanding the internal control. So before applying the audit procedures, so there will be having an assessment of the internal control of the entity. He will see whether the controls are effective. There is proper segregation of duties, whether the controls are maintained or reviewed at regular intervals. After reviewing all this only, he will design the audit procedures accordingly. Now, so again, understanding and obtaining an understanding of the internal control. And then appropriateness of your accounting policies. We discussed whether the accounting estimates are reasonable, whether the accounting policies are appropriate, applied consistently over all the years, whether it is properly disclosed. So all these things again comes as a part of your auditor's responsibility, verification of those. And finally, how appropriate is the management's use of going concern assumption? I told you going concern assumption is carried on by the management. How appropriate is that? Finally, all this will be given by means of a report, auditor's report. So mainly auditor's responsibility will be starting with giving a reasonable assurance, obtaining a reasonable assurance. How the reasonable assurance is obtained? By understanding the internal control, designing appropriate audit procedures and performing them, then obtaining sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, and assessing the risk of material misstatements. And also he will be commenting on the appropriateness of the management's going concern assumption along with the reasonableness of the estimates, accounting estimates. So when you are telling about policies, also include your estimates, reasonability of the accounting estimates, and whether the accounting policies adopted are appropriate and applied consistently. So all these will be there as a part of your auditor's responsibility. And also finally, how I am communicating through a report, so issuing an auditor's report. Now, last part we have actually covered title, addressee, opinion, basis of opinion. Then we saw going concern, then key audit matters. Then we saw what the emphasis of matter paragraph, other matter paragraph. We then came to the responsibility part, management and the auditor's responsibility. Now, content, everything is over. Now comes the signature part. Okay, the main portion, there is a signature part. So in signature part, who will sign the audit report? It is normally the partner, that means the auditor, that is an engagement partner, whoever is engaged for that doing particular allocated with a particular audit work. Engagement partner will be signing the audit. Say if he is a proprietor, he alone will be signing. If it is a partnership firm, what happens? If it is a partnership firm, the audit will be signed by the particular engagement partner only, but he will include the firm name in the name of the audit firm. So for this particular firm name XYZ firm, I will be signing. Okay, so if it is a proprietorship firm, it will be the engagement partner and in his personal name he will be signing. If it is a partnership firm who is doing the audit, Then the particular report will be signed in the personal name of the partner and in the name of the firm. For that particular firm name, the particular person will sign. Now, whenever an auditor is signing the audit report, few things should be included. What are the few things? One is his name, his membership number. Now, if it is a firm, his name, his membership number, firm name, firm registration number. So, every firm will be allotted a firm registration number. And also every member will also be allotted a membership number by ICAI. So, all these things have to be included. So, it is your name, proprietor name and your proprietorship concern name, your membership number. If it is a partnership, your name, membership number, firm name, firm registration number. And the which firm, on behalf of which firm you are signing. And the last part, the auditor's address. That means location from where the audit report is signed. So normally it will be the city from where the audit report is signed. That will be. Now, date of audit report is very, very important, because date of audit report should not be earlier than the date on which he is obtaining the evidence. Say for example, I am signing an audit report today. That means what? Whatever events or whatever transactions has happened till date, I am aware of that, and on the basis of that only I am signing the audit report. That means I am the user should be like say if the audit report date is today, it is actually an information to the user whatever events have taken place till that is included or it is taken care while signing the audit report. Say the audit for 1920, it is conducted in July. Now, if it is conducted or the audit report is signed in July, that means what? The financial year ends in March 31st. Okay, so 2020 March 31st, the financial year has ended. Now, from April 1st to July 1st or July 1st, I am signing the audit report on July 2nd. Till July 1st to July 2nd, whatever even say some fire has happened or some calamity was there. So because of it, again it's inventory has gone or its profit, everything has gone, even the company itself, going concern assumption itself is disrupted. All these things, all these events, all these transactions I have to include when I am signing the audit report on July 2nd. So it is an indication or it is informing the user that auditor's report has considered the effect of all these elements, all these events and transactions which the auditor has become aware, come to the awareness or whether the auditor has come to the knowledge of the auditor. Say we told in subsequent events occurring after the date of balance sheet and before signing, it could be even after signing and before the meeting. Now here also before signing, after your balance sheet date, whatever events he should be aware and that he has included the effect of possible effect of that in the financial statements. That is the assurance given when I am signing on July 2nd or the particular date whenever I am signing. Now, so it should not be earlier than the date on which the auditor has obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence based on which the audit opinion. Say for example, I am signing means I cannot sign the audit report of that particular entity before, say for example, before even I get any audit evidence. So it should be after that particular date. Whatever events are coming on that particular period, it should be having an effect on the financial and I should be vouching for that. So the date is very, very important. So last few things are signature, address and report. So we'll just have one quick review what it is. So format of audit report, as I told you, it is the title Independent Auditor's Report. It should be addressed as Independent Auditor's Report. Addressee, to whom it is addressed as per the terms of engagement, either management, stakeholders or as per the legal requirements, whoever it is. Now subtitle, opinion. Opinion, I told you, opinion will be followed by the basis for opinion paragraph. Opinion, first I have to indicate that financial statements are audited. Now what is the entity name, period for which the financial statements are audited, whether the accounting policies, I have to also mention the what are the title of the financial statements that is included, balance sheet, P&L, notes to account, etc. Then what are the notes to account and the summary of the significant financial policies. Then I come to the audit, actually opinion part. So in the opinion part also I give you two things. What are the two things in the opinion part? The opinion part I'll give you. With respect to modified opinion, how it should be disclosed. I told you present fairly in all material respects or gives a true and fair. Anyone, both are equivalent, I can use that. So if these phrases are there, I can understand it is a unmodified report. Then we saw basis for opinion. What is the basis for opinion? So basis for opinion we covered on what basis, depending on the audit evidence obtained, whether the also we saw say for example here we saw whether the auditor's report it is giving the responsibility of the auditor, it is an independent audit, and it is also as per your standards on auditing. So 5 to 6 points we covered, that it is covered as per SEs, it is an independent audit, responsibilities have been fulfilled, ethical responsibilities fulfilled, and whether evidence is efficient and appropriate. Then we came to what is the basis for opinion. Then if it is a qualified or adverse opinion, again we have a basis for that modified opinion. So if I am giving an unmodified opinion and basis for that, if it is a qualification, then basis for the modified opinion. Then we told about the going concern assumption. So going concern assumption, I told you this assumption will be made by the management. Whenever this assumption is made by the management, the auditor has to check whether it is appropriate or not. That will be communicated through the report. Then next one was with respect to emphasis of matter paragraph, key matter paragraph, and other matter paragraph. So we discussed elaborately. Key audit matters means those communication with those charged with governance or those significant matters which has to be included. Whereas emphasis of matter paragraph is to enhance the understandability of the financial statement. I told you about the example of a lawsuit that has been filed. What is the steps taken by the management? How they have accounted for it? So all the details will be there. Other matter paragraph means other additional responsibilities taken by the auditor or with respect to audit report. I told you when the auditor is about to resign, because of the limitation of the scope of the audit, he is not able to resign. I can communicate to that because he is not able to obtain any sufficient and appropriate evidence. So he wants to resign, but he is not able to resign. So such kind of notes or such kind of elements I can include in the other matter paragraph. Or what all branches I have audited, what are the branches I have audited, and with respect to head office I am given the audit of head office, but I have individually conducted the audit of the branches. That also I have to indicate. The next one will be your report on regulatory requirements. So as per the regulatory and legal requirements, is there any compliance procedure? Is there any kind of report I have to give? That also. Last will be the name. Under whose name? If it is a proprietorship firm, personal name. If it is a partnership firm, name of the firm. For that particular firm I am signing. Then membership number and the firm registration number, date and place. Date I told you it should be such that should be giving the users an idea, like all the events and transactions whatever happened during that, the effect is actually considered while giving the audit report. And finally the signature. So we covered here SA 700, forming an opinion and reporting on financial statements. So we saw the objectives, factors affecting the conclusion, specific evaluations, what are the different types of opinion. Then different types of opinion, qualified and unmodified. We were dealing with unmodified opinion, that is clean report. Next session we will be covering modified opinion. What are the 3 types of modified opinion, when the modified opinion will be given by the auditor. Now unmodified opinion, we saw what is unmodified opinion. Then we saw audit report, what is an audit report. Then again we came to what are the different contents or format of an audit report. Inside that we discussed all the points. So in the next session we'll be dealing with modified report, very important topic. What is a modified report? What are the elements of modified opinion? So we'll see in the next session. So till then you can just go through this. So next session we'll cover the modified report.